Alright, here we are, first A fleet of the last day, which is Wednesday, but it's usually a Sunday, but today is Wednesday. The lifestyles of rich and famous. Looks like Lenny Bowes, Gary Bowl, Lenny in the 168, Gary in the 71. Everybody on the port early, trying to reach up the lake. Shift says request denied, the pattern is full. Got Jim Sears on the outside, 7-4 boat. Clean, clear air, clean, clear, slow air. Smart Galson powers up the middle. Gary pole. Gary missed the pole again. Always a success. As we head upwind.
I have enough for last week. Okay, I'm gonna get there.
Mark looks like he's in charge.
Hey Bob, I think your Wednesday is broken.
Out front.
Like that direction no matter what.
Got some constructive criticism from the crowd. Always helpful. Fixing everything. Lenny Bowes going fast. Oh no, that's Barry Donaher in the 2-7 boat. The other yellow boat. Heading upwind. A little light air today, but trying to make it happen. As we do the pond sailing, smooth water, super light wind. Trying to make something happen. As we head up to the windward mark, which is a lot further up there still. As Mark's going to chip away at it, tacking up the middle, straight at it. Got a few guys heading out to the right side to come in on starboard. It's a long haul from over there. Jim Sears, the 7-4 boat, the drop stripes, blue. Yes, he's looking for an excuse to tack, and he does right behind George Pedrick, saying, I gotta get closer to that windward mark. Jimmy cuts across, yelling, starboard! Chris Steiger has to duck Jim. Jim is now going backwards on the course. Sideways upwind beat to the windward mark. It's like Dennis Rogers made it there first. King of El Dorado, Larry Grant in the 8-5 boat in second. Mark Galson in third, being challenged by Jess Atkins. Snuck in on the inside, Mark on the outside. Mark gonna steal some air from Larry. Say, Larry, you better get on oxygen. I'm stealing your air. So Mark upwind to everybody. Probably strategic on his part, as he calculates everything in the Galson supercomputer. Galson supercomputer works on it for a while and says, go this way. It looks like Dennis Rogers in the 4-3 boats got his own wind. He got to the pressure first. Everybody else parked in the doldrums. As Dennis keeps the pedal to the metal, keeps the hammer down. As everybody else struggles to find wind, they got to get away from each other. Mark to the windward to everybody. Maybe has a little advantage as everybody else squirrels around in dirty air. Mark does a little reach. Larry comes up, gives Jess a little love tap.
56.
Take it, they're going to the room. Jess does his turn.
That's not right.
Backward walking Chris Steger, trying to set the Guinness Book to world records.
With the hail, somebody has to have resolution. Thank you.
As everybody tries to catch up with Dennis. Dennis out there all by himself in the 4-3. Looks like he's going to the outside mark. Stay away from the fleet. Probably a good move. Should be able to head out on starboard for a while. Miss everybody. Tack back across. Looks like Gary Bowl figured out the way. How to get downwind. Sure, Gary's calling for room. As he heads up, he's going to take George in the 157 up. Take up Gary. My alarm's going off on my transmitter, Winton, to give him room. Gary slams the tack around the buoy.
Half of them before you even know they're available. Because people are get them online.
They gotta buy them and all.
There's a little altercation there with Mark, Jess, and Larry.
Good.
3 people always right at the start of a protest, and 1 comes out right in the end. That's how it works. As Gary Bowl powers up, tries to chase down Mr. Dennis Rogers.
I didn't think I had to.
Gary's chipping away at Dennis. Check in on Dennis. He's getting bored by himself, but Dennis driving upwind. Trying to gain some height on the windward mark. Gary Bowl in second, 7-1. And George Pedrick in the 5-7. Got Gary Winton, the chirpy radio, 5-4 boat. Chris Steger and Lenny Bowes doing well on the outside. Got Jim Sears here in the 7-4 boat. Mark Gollison gonna tiptoe on by on the inside. A lot of tiptoeing today in the light wind. Got to stay away from each other. Everybody's disturbing everybody's wind today. It's so light. There's a little puff coming through. Dennis going slow. Looks like Gary chose the beach route, and it's paying off as he just stays on that port tack, runs right up the beach. Gary tacks across. Looks like he's gotten above Dennis. Dennis's lead has eroded as the swirling winds in the middle of the lake take its toll on the fleet, take its toll on our leader.
They're buying like one of everything, and I go like, holy smokes.
Looks like Gary's going to make it first. Probably the best thing to do is watch these videos on about 5x speed. How far into this race are we? Let me get my glasses so I can see. We are 9 minutes in. We've still got to go down and back up. As Gary tries to get over to the offset, praying for a puff. Gary hits the windward mark 10 minutes into the race. So these races run a little longer in the light wind. Let's see, Gary comes across to the pressure. beach side. Gary avoiding some downwind boats. Up Larry and Mark. Looks like George Pedrick in the 157 boat. This is the second one around up there. Got Barry Donaher in the 207 boat. Third one. As Gary, the Britpop Whisperer, comes downwind. Gary gets to tune about 27 boats at every regatta. We all use Gary as our Wikipedia of the Britpop. We do a quiz every morning. And Gary just rocketing off the front.
Yeah, that would be the description for it.
As Dennis, I heard Dennis crying on shore up there as his lead is eroded. And Gary just punished him. As Gary goes downwind, take a look at that tune, Britpop folks. That's what you want. That's the fast Britpoppy, all the way back up the pond to see probably George powered up on the shore, 157. Everybody else over there in the doldrums. See a little pressure on the right side. Freeway. We're using the alternate freeway instead of the 605. They're over here on the 210. 210 is open. Mr. Mark Galson and George Pedrick as they head down towards Pasadena on their way to Burbank. The rest of the fleet comparing notes, going, why the hell is Gary so fast? They did see Gary sacrificing a goat in the parking lot this morning, so there might be a little witchcraft afoot. Do not condone that activity. Model sailing, Gary. Consider yourself on double secret probation for the goat sacrifice. As Mark smothers George, says, George, you're going nowhere on my wind. George says, I'm out of here, Mark.
Nick, where are we going?
Not gonna play that game.
Come on, Nick.
As Gary picks through the fleet on port, a little port crossing, not for the faint of heart. As we rocket upwind, there's Frey Roca, class secretary, running the event. Calling first is going to be hard on this one. Get your ruler out. As Gary Bowl says, this is a one-man parade. I'm in the lead. Hey, easy on the love handles. Got to get a few drinks in me first, Gary. As Gary finds a way. Gary's got the formula for the pond as my camera leans. Maybe, will this make it, Gary, look faster? If I lean this way? Maybe not. Just make people dizzy. But back to the action. George and Mark show. Is it Vickers versus Vickers? Might be. Mark in the V11, I believe. George, a V something. V10, V11 probably. 157. As we get a little tacking duel going on. Hopefully they don't screw around with each other too much and let everybody else catch up. As boring Gary Bowl goes across the finish line all by himself for first. Back to the action for second. See what happens with Mark and George. We've got Barry crossing the fleet on starboard, just wishing for wind. Chris just makes it. Back to George and Mark. Mr. Winton's radio continues to beep. Nobody knows why. So Futaba technical support, please call Gary Winton. He needs you right now. You need to know the magic buttons to cease the beeping. As Mr. Mark Galson wills his boat across the line. George Pedrick above the line, now to tack down below the line, to then tack back above the line. So sailing is a lot of things going on in sailing, not for the faint of heart. Looks like Mr. Jess Atkinson coming in starboard. He read all the textbooks, said always finish on starboard while you can. It's Dennis Rogers, past leader of the race, has to duck to get behind Jess in the 5-6 boat, Chris in the 8-8 boat. Then it looks like Dennis Rogers comes in the 4-3. Dennis left to question life choices, but this is model sailing in the light. Sometimes you're the hero, sometimes you're not. As the rest of the boats dawdle their way in. Oh, Jim Shear shooting the line. Him and Barry, who knows who got it. His first A fleet of the Wednesday event. This is the last day. The F-95 used up all the good wind, and this is what the IOM guys are left with.